How's it going, everybody? All right. Well, I hope everybody is doing good tonight. To welcome everybody out. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Jersey. All right. So, as you probably already know by the title, that we're going to be playing some Journey. So, we're going to look at the song "Lights," but this is a somewhat it's a little bit of an alternate version from the original. I made it took a couple of things out of it to make it a little easier to play and to kind of make it more of like an acoustic rendition, so you could play this like by yourself, or around the campfire. Hello, Paul. So as usual, there's tabs for this. So there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs so you can follow along. And we're going to be going over through the entire song, not the guitar solo itself, because like I said, this is more of kind of like a solo rendition of this, but we are going to go through all of the parts for the song. So yeah, be sure to get those tabs so you can follow along. And if you like what I'm doing here and stuff, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Leave a comment. Let me know in the chat. All right, so I'll just assume that everybody has had a chance to get the tabs. So the first thing we're going to look at is just like the little intro. So this is one of the places where I made some alterations to it, like I said, to kind of simplify it a little bit. Hello, Rick. Thanks for joining us. So your noodling is far superior than my best playing. Oh, well, thank you. I doubt it, but thank you. Yeah, so we're going to start off. We've got this D over F sharp. So your third finger will be on the 9th fret of the A string, and then your first finger is going to bar across the 7th fret of the D, G, and B strings. So what we do is we do a slide from nowhere into that 9. So now this is all got a triplet feel to it. So when we go into this, it's triplet, and then starting on the B string, it's B, B, G, D. So that's the second beat. It's like the second triplet. Second here, I got to adjust my transcription so the old man can see it. Okay, so we do that slide into that. Now, on the original one, he does this little hammer-on thing here with your pinky. So if you want to do that, it's just I'm hammering from the 7th fret on the G string to the 9th fret with my pinky. But like I said, I've left those parts out because it just makes it like a whole bunch easier to play, and it still sounds really good. So that takes care of like the first two beats of the first measures. Then we're going to have a B minor 7. So the B minor 7, your third finger is already where it needs to be because it's still going to be on the 9th fret of the A string. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your first finger and you're going to bar it all the way across the 7th fret. But we want to do that slide from nowhere into that as well. So we do the... like that. It sounds nice. It's easy. And again, there's that hammer on pull off thing in there, but without it, I think it sounds great. Okay, so that's the first measure. And then the second measure starts off the same way with that same, like the first half of the first measure. Now we're going to go to an A major. So we're going to do an A major bar chord here. So now you're going to take your first finger and bar it across all 6 strings at the 5th fret. And then put your second finger onto the 6th fret of the G string, your third finger onto the 7th fret of the A string, and your 4th finger onto the 7th fret of the D string. And then same timing, starting on the E, A, D, G, D, A. So that's your first 2 measures. All right, and then going on to the third measure, we have a B minor 7. So all we're going to do is take this shape that we're doing here, and we're going to move it up a whole step, and we're going to take off our 2nd and 4th finger. So this is that shape that we were doing a minute ago. Same timing again. So that's the first two beats that, again, triple it. Then we're going to go to a C major bar chord. So now we're going to come down and we're going to root it off of the A string. So first finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then my 3rd finger on barring the 5th fret of the D, G, and B. So it's that same timing. And then the last measure of that, we have D. It's like we're going to do some suspended chords. So we've got a regular old D major, but we're going to do D suspended 4. So you just take your pinky and you set it down here on the 3rd fret of the high E. And then we take it off for D and take your middle finger off. So now the high E string is open. And that's D suspended 2. And then put it back on for D. So it's 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And then the next measure is a rest because that's where the vocal line comes in. So that whole intro. All right, and that's the entire intro, and I believe, sure here, yeah, that's all of the first page. All right, so before we move along, does anybody have any questions about any of that, or just, as usual, this is just like a regular Q&A. So if you have, any guitar questions, feel free to ask at any old time. Oh, thanks, Jersey. And if you like what I'm doing, if you like what what I'm doing tonight, what I do, every week, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. You hear everybody talk about it, helps with the algorithm and all that stuff. But it also helps with them knowing that I'm doing a good job and that I can, keep doing this for you. All right. And if you just joined us, there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this too. All right. So after it does that intro, it goes right into the song, and it's the I would call it the chorus. So it's just starting on the chorus. So we start off. We've got just a D, and then we're going to do another B minor 7. But it's instead of this voice, we're going to do it here. So your first finger is going to be barring across the 2nd fret of the first 5 strings. And then your second finger will go on to the 3rd fret of the B string, and your third finger will go on to the 4th fret of the D string. So it's like if you know regular B minor, you just take your pinky off. Oh, cool, Rick. Yeah, I still listen to them quite a bit, actually. They have a lot of music that I just think is awesome. It's kind of timeless. All right. So the D, the B minor 7, and then C. And then we're going to do a C add 9. And so this particular voicing of C add 9, you're just going to take the regular C chord you're doing, and you're going to put your pinky down so it's on the 3rd fret of the B string. So that's C add 9. And then the D suspended 4 and D that we did before. So those are the chords that make this up. And for the strum for this, like I said, this is supposed to be kind of a rendition. So you can play it by yourself, like an acoustic version, play around the campfire kind of a thing. So you start with that D. So that's kind of the strum I do for it. So it's like 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So that's one measure per chord. So with a D, B minor 7, C. So this one's a little bit different. When it goes to the C, it's like 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then we're going to do we're going to strum the C, and it's like a ghost note, so it doesn't really take up like part of the timing, but that's like right at the beginning of that measure, and we hammer on our pinky down into that C add 9. So you got, so you hammer in, and then take it off for the and of 4. So. And then that repeats. So when the lights go down in the city, whoops. So it goes through that progression 3 times, and then after that, it's like on your 3rd time through. We go back to the B minor 7, C, D suspended 4, D, and then I just noticed it doesn't say that on there, but it goes back to the D suspended 2 and back to D. So like 1 and 2 and 3, 4, just like on at the last part of the intro. So this chorus ends the same way that the intro does. So the last time, like the 3rd time through. All right, so we've gone over the intro, and we've gone over that chorus section. that chorus section, we kind of went over that fairly quick, but it's fairly simple. So even if you're a beginner, like, some of the chords, like doing that hammer chord, from the C to the C add 9 might be a little challenging. Just bar chords in general, can be challenging and stuff, but, don't let that discourage you from, trying to do it. As far as like the strumming and rhythm part of it and stuff, you can really kind of make it your own. It doesn't need to be just like that. Sometimes it's better just to kind of start doing it and just feel it out and let your arm kind of figure out what it wants to do versus, trying to force a strumming pattern. All right. So, does anybody have any questions about this, or like I said, just general question and answer? So just whatever part's long. Any guitar related questions, whatever that you might have. All right. Well, not very talkative, not very many questions now. We might get through early. Is a Strat easier to play than a Les Paul? There's like, oh, thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. That's a question that could have a different answer depending upon what you're playing and who you're asking. If you're, a Stratocaster, the back on a Strat is like this. It's got these cuts, to kind of, to make room for your ribs or your belly or whatever, So it's kind of more contoured, more comfortable. And a Les Paul is just like really, they're just straight on the back. I guess there are some models that do have cutaways in them, but that's not really common. So the really common ones are going to be, they're just flat. So they're not as comfortable to play sitting down. And I personally don't feel that they're as comfortable to play standing up either, because the same issues. But I mean, I learned on a Les Paul, and that's all I had for a long, long time. So I think it's good. Oh, okay, Paul. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. So yeah, I think that the Strat is more comfortable to play. And then another thing too is that, like, with Les Pauls, if you have one's got like a 50 style neck, they're really fat. So if you've got, like me, I've got small hands. I had a 57 Les Paul, and I traded it because I just didn't like how fat the neck was. But my Strat, it's a lot easier. Is that for that part is easier, I think. Yeah, I mean, go into a music store and play a Strat and see how it feels to you or whatever. I just don't think it's a, if you really like your Les Paul, play it. All right. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Well, yeah, but I mean, you don't have to go in and put on a concert. Just, you don't even have to plug it into an amp. Just just sit down and play something that you can play and just see, if it feels better. I mean, if it's some miraculous, it just feels so much easier and you can play things that you never could, then yeah, maybe that would be good for you, but I just kind of doubt it. All right, so let's look at this bridge section, and just looking at it, I think I made a mistake on here, actually. The first chord shows that it's B minor 7, but I'm pretty sure it's just B minor. So anyhow, we'll look at how to address that. So if you take just the B minor 7 that we did up here, if you just take your pinky and put it down so it's on the 4th fret of the G string, that'll make it minor. Because it doesn't sound like it's the B minor 7 on this part. So we've got that same kind of strum that we were doing before on the chorus. So we've got with B minor 7. But like I said, I believe that it's B. So with B minor 7, it sounds like this. With B minor, I think it's B minor. So you got one measure of that with the same strumming that we were doing on the chorus. To a G, D, A. So I'm using just this open, A that you probably already, first A chord that you probably learned. A major chord, I mean. I just mean you probably didn't start with a bar chord voicing. Yeah, so that's the first 4 measures. And then the next 4 are the same except for the rhythm when it goes on to that A. So we've got back to the B minor, G, D. So now we've got on that measure there with A, we play just, like 1, 2, 3, 4. But they're not quarter notes. They're eighth notes with a rest after it. So it's going to be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So just dun, 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 and then it goes right back into the B again. So after the B minor again, G, and then D. So when we go into that D there, and that's on measure 23, we have two. Excuse me. We have 2 measures of D at that point. So so far for that. For this bridge section, so we start off with the B minor, G, D, A, B minor again, G, D, back to B minor, G, and then D for 2 measures. Then we go into the part that it's the last part of this section, and it's kind of like let's see, let me find it. So it's like the thing, how the ending of the chorus and the ending of the intro, the whoa, it does that same thing, but they repeat it. So we got and then again. So that's like the very last time through of the OOs. Oh, hello, Crit. When did you sneak in? So yeah, having a, there we go. Computer problem. Can you imagine that? Me with having a computer problem. All right, I just want to make sure. Yeah, so those are actually all of the parts. So the only other thing that there is in it is there's a guitar solo. Like I said, we're not going to go over the guitar solo part because this is all kind of made that you'd be playing by yourself. So it seems like how when I've played this in that kind of situation before, it seems like we did the intro, the chorus, and the chorus is kind of like, I mean, it's kind of chorus / verse, I guess. And it seems like there's two of them. And then it goes into another chorus. And then it goes into that bridge. And then after the bridge, it goes into the guitar solo section, I think. And then it goes into another chorus. So what I would always do is just go like intro, chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus. And that, you know, it's a shorter song anyways, but that after you cut the solo out of it, it makes it not too terribly long. And like I said, if you're doing like a sing-along thing, you know, like a campfire or whatever, you know, we've done this before where it ended up being longer, you know, because people want to just keep, you know, singing the hooky parts of the, you know, of whatever song you're doing. All right, so yeah, so those are all the parts. I thought it would have, you know, taken a lot longer to go through it because there's sometimes we've done stuff where it's, you know, a fourth of that in length, and it you know, ends up taking an hour to get through it. So that leaves us just, you know, anybody has any questions, like I said, they don't necessarily have to be about this song that we just, you know, worked on, but if you do have questions about it, you know, feel free to ask. But just regular old Q&A now. So if there's any guitar related questions you have or anything, I'm all ears. If I brought a guitar to a bonfire, they'd probably throw me and the guitar in it. That's a really funny, positive outlook to have there, Jersey. Oh yeah, well you can watch the rerun, Crit. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions or anything, then we can wrap this up. But you know, like I said, if you like the content of what I'm doing and stuff, you know, hit the thumbs up, leave comments, subscribe to the channel, you know, all that stuff that all the YouTubers tell you to do because of the algorithms and all that. And that's all fine and good, but this is also how the Guitar Control knows that I'm, you know, doing something you guys dig. And I can keep my job and keep coming at you with all this stuff every week. Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. And in case, you know, you're coming in late or whatever, you know, you can watch the rerun of it. And there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs for the song we went over. And yeah, and if you have any ideas or suggestions for things that you'd like to see covered in live streams or whatever, leave them in the comments. There is no way you can bar 7 and get 9. Do you mean bar 7 and reach 9? Well, yeah, why not? It's only skipping over one fret. So if you think about it, if your first finger is doing 7, then something that was on 8 would be your second finger, and 9 would be your third, and possibly your fourth, depending upon what you're playing. Will I play the song and sing it through once? No. No one wants to hear me sing. Trust me, you don't want to hear me sing. If I sang, it would be once, because it'd be the last thing that I ever did. It's singing's no bueno. Yeah, see, Jersey, this is the stuff like I've talked to you about before, that we need to be able to evaluate what's going on, why you're having trouble keeping the pressure on there. Most of the time, it's not as much of a thing of hand strength as it is just being in the right position to do it, like being postured right. If you're trying to put the palm of your hand, a lot of times people try to do this. They're trying to squeeze the guitar like this to bar a chord, and that is like totally not the way you want to do it. You want to come around. Your thumb doesn't necessarily need to be all the way back here, but you just don't want the palm of your hand to be up against the guitar, and you want your wrist to be bent this way, not straight, and definitely not bent this way. You always want it to be kind of bent like that. You can get a considerably more, a bigger amount of leverage that way. Yeah, Jersey, just take your first finger and just lay it across and put your thumb on the back. So it's like lined up with your finger, like you're pinching. And just try to bar all 6 strings. So you should be able to hear each string. And then take your third finger and put it here. Or if you have to, your pinky. Sometimes at first, when you're first getting this down, even if you've been playing for a long time and you've had like bad bar chord technique, when you go to play them the correct way, it often, even though you've been playing for a long time, it still isn't real great, because you haven't quite figured out how to do it, or maybe you're lacking a little bit of hand strength in that position. But usually within just a couple of days, it straightens itself out. All right. Well, again, everybody, thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments, because I'm always open for ideas and suggestions and things like that. All right. Well, again, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And I will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.